Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for coming in. We're at about 58 visitors right now. I think last week we had around 75 or so. We'll see if we can break that record. Um, appreciate you all coming out, and we'll try, and we're very mindful of the time frame right now. We wanted to create an evening event, mix an evening event in here so that some of you who are working during the day had the opportunity to join the live chat. But we also understand that it is probably around dinner time in your households. I know it is in mine, coming up pretty soon. So we are mindful of that, and we will be as efficient as possible. But we also want to make sure that we answer your questions as well. Uh, Before I get into the questions, and this will actually answer some of the a few of the questions that were posed. Uh, we've received many emails from students, parents, and had many discussions with our staff regarding our plan for next school year, and and other things too. Our plans for textbook returns and yearbook disbursement and things of that nature. So I'll start out talking about those items. So in regards to next fall, as we all know, on Monday, Governor Baker spoke, and they laid out their four-phase plan for Massachusetts in their return to the new normal, as they put it. We, of course, are paying very close attention to what Governor Baker and his team of officials are, what they're announcing, and their updates and their guidance. In addition to that, the Commissioner of Education has been conducting phone calls with charter school leaders, traditional public school leaders, and combining them into the same meetings as well. And Ellen Lindsay, our executive director, she's been attending those, and she updates the staff. The Commissioner of Education pointed out yesterday on a phone call that they are in the midst of creating a very thorough and comprehensive plan regarding guidance for schools in their return back to school in the fall and what that will look like. He did not go into any exact details, and their time frame is looking like mid-June. They are going to lay something out for all of the schools in the state with some, as I said, comprehensive and detailed recommendations, which is good news to us, because sometimes throughout this process there have been some messages from the commissioner's office and from DESE, the Department of Education, that have been very broad, very general, and very much, here's some recommendations, deal with it at your local level, how you please. We expect this upcoming communication from them to be very thorough, because that's what they're telling us it's going to be, and more specific. We, as a school at AMSA, have to be mindful, and I want to assure everyone on this call that we are, of course, mindful of our unique facilities and our unique needs as a community. So when the state comes out with information for us and some recommendations, guidelines, or expectations, we will obviously take those into account to the fullest extent possible. But we need to make sure that our campus can make certain things happen. We want to make sure that our students are safe, our staff are safe, and that we're putting us in the best situation possible, with the end goal next year. At the beginning of next year, our main focus is we want to deliver an AMSA curriculum. We want to deliver an AMSA education. That's why you all sent your children to us. That's why your children, most of them, when they were in sixth grade or seventh or eighth or ninth, they wanted to come here for the education. And we want to come as close to that. We want to fulfill that, or come as close to it as we can, given the potential constraints that we may have. And again, we don't have any specifics on what that looks like yet. But in the meantime, before that communication comes out, we are in the process of forming committees, including all staff members who want to volunteer and teachers who want to volunteer. administrators, and we're pretty much dividing. We're going to have many subgroups, but the two main categories that we're focusing on are the operational side, the student safety, student health, operational side, and then the academic side. So what is it going to look like given the state guidance, given the state communication? We're going to take that and say, okay, we're AMSA. We're over here on 201 Forest Street in Marlboro, Mass. This is what our building looks like. This is what the state's telling us to do. They're, taking into account all that information, and we're going to make it so that it fits our school the best we can. And again, with the goal in mind being we want to deliver an AMSA education. Right now in this current quarter, as we've mentioned, we're in a phase where we're grading students on a pass-fail system. That is not our goal going forward. We plan to deliver more, to allow our teachers to deliver more in-depth instruction and to challenge our students as we promised to when you guys all enter our school. That's what we want to do: challenge them to the fullest extent and provide them with a world-class education. So that's our focus. Again, many of the things I'm about to say, I can't give you many specifics yet because we don't have the information from the state. But please know that we are planning for multiple scenarios. If we come back and we're completely remote, if we come back and they suggest that we do a staggered schedule where half the school is remote one week, the other half is on campus, or some variation of that, we'll look into that scenario. And we're going to weigh the pros and cons of all these. And then there may be another scenario where we may be in school for a while, we may be in person for a while, but then there could be some sort of change in the statistics and the data out there, and that there may be another spike in COVID, something like that could occur. So we'll be ready for what happens if we are in person and then suddenly at the drop of the hat, like what happened on March 14th or 13th this year, how are we going to adjust and what are we going to do? And at that point, we would discuss the remote learning options as well. So those are three quick examples of what we're planning for. And we're hoping for the best. We're hoping that, things settle down, and I'm personally hoping for a medical breakthrough and good news on the science end of things so that we can expedite this process and get back to our new normal. But so going back to the questions here, some people asked about our plans, and that's just sort of where we're at right now. We are ready to go at it full bore. We can assure you that we will have something very nice and detailed for the community. And of course, we'll probably be working on this, mid-June into the summer, and have something ready in August for everybody before we come back. Just so many different factors we need to pay attention to. Like I said, the Department of Education, as well as Governor Baker, in his announcements and his guidance. So many factors that we're paying attention to. And along with that, many questions have popped up about other things, other organizational things that we need to take care of before this school year ends.
Watching the AMSA.
Oh, sorry, if you can mute yourself, please. Many questions have popped up regarding things that we do need to take care of before the end of the year. Textbook returns, seniors receiving their caps and gowns for graduation, our plans for graduation, things of that nature. So again, the specifics on these items will be coming out within the next 2 to 3 weeks. We will have all of these items finalized. As far as textbook returns go, again, the specifics are not all ironed out yet, but what it will look like for the seniors, we're going to do a dry run, a test run with the senior class, because we do need to get their books back much sooner than the other folks in the 6th to 11th graders. What it will most likely look like is, and we're paying attention to what other schools are doing around the area, it will look like a drive-through type of deal where students or parents will drive up, drop their books into a cart, or hand them over to a staff member. We'll have our protective equipment on. We'll end up expecting the same from those of you who are dropping items off. We'll have, so we'll probably conduct the textbook return process in that something along those lines. And again, we will have all of the details ironed out and spelled out for you. So the senior parents, and if there are any senior students on here as well, please know that more information is to come, and that's really going to be the test run, and we'll see how that goes, and then we'll have to figure out the timing for grades 6 through 11. But again, it'll be a drive-through, drop-off type of scenario, and then the caps and gowns will be for graduation for the seniors will be given out that day. We just want to make sure that we get our textbooks back as well. In addition to that, our registrar, Linda Edwards, who has been putting in a ton of work lately. One of the many things she has to do around this time of the year, she wants to return student records, all the students' cumulative records to them. So on that same day with the seniors, she will be looking to do that as well. So we have to just make sure that we stagger the times correctly, that we plan everything out physically on our campus. And like I said, we'll have more details for you there. So please, like I said, I'm sorry I don't have many specifics. We are planning all of this out along with so many other things. But I assure you that within the next 2 to 3 weeks, you will see very clear-cut expectations and schedules, and we will get this done. There was a question here. So sorry if it seems like I'm switching gears. I'm just trying to address the questions that came in about move-up day. Now, move-up day, for those of you who may not be familiar, in June, over the last 2 school years, we've run a move-up day where the students receive their schedule for next year in mid-June, and then they run through their schedule. They do a dry run through their schedule and meet their teachers for the upcoming year. We conducted a survey with our teachers on this, and we reached out to them. We discussed it among administration, and we all came to the conclusion that we will not run an official move-up day in this remote platform that we're in right now. Scheduling wise, would be quite difficult at this time, and we really are trying to focus on meeting specific content standards before the end of the year. So we don't want to take away a full day or two for move-up day, given the circumstances that we're in right now. So we will send out next year's schedule. We will notify the families and the students that next year's schedule is available on Plus portals, but we will not run through a move-up day. Miss Murphy, I know, is going to work with the AP teachers on providing them with an opportunity to get in touch with their students for summer work reasons. So AP will look a little bit different. They're not going to have a move-up day, but they will be able to communicate with their students and get the summer assignments all set and figured out. I will stop there for now. Brianna, Murphy, if you want to step in and answer some of the questions on your side, and then we can take questions after that.
Yep. I just saw there was a question that said a virtual move-up day. So that was what we've discussed, because obviously we wouldn't be able to do it in person. And again, as Mike just said, we really wanted to dedicate the time that we have left to instruction, since we are so limited in our time right now. And again, we threw it out to the teachers to see what they thought about, what the preference was over meeting students for next year, or again, using that instructional time, and also just the logistics of doing it virtually. The more we started talking about it, the more we realized it would be quite the undertaking, and probably there'd be a lot of confusion if there were so many different Google links that students had to keep track of. So again, we've opted to not do the virtual version, but for the classes that do have summer work, namely AP classes, there will be an option for that, for that teachers can hold one. Another thing to note is that there is a chance that our schedule could look different next year, depending on the guidance that we get from the state. And as much as we hope that we can move forward with the schedule that we have in place, and as we normally would for next year, there could be some changes based on whatever virtual learning ideas and requirements are given by the state that could result in some schedule changes. So just all in all, it didn't seem like the best use of time right now, with, again, just about a month left of the year that we have with the students. Couple other things. So there's a question here about yearbook distribution for underclassmen. So we have a plan that we're working on with the seniors, and then we'll be able to work on the underclassmen one. Probably we might look into looping it in with textbook returns. So if students have ordered a yearbook, I actually believe they haven't even been delivered to the school yet. They're supposed to arrive this week. So we obviously need to have them on hand before we can put a plan in place for that. But they will definitely get their yearbooks. Worst case scenario for underclassmen, if for some reason it's too difficult to arrange that with the textbook drop off and all that, we could always give them, out next fall. But again, we should be able to do that when we do the textbook drop off. There are also some questions regarding refunds for various extra things that have been paid for by families. Bus fees will be refunded. Those checks were signed today, so they should be out to everyone within the next week or two. And then in terms of clubs, each club will handle refunds on a club-by-club basis. Some clubs have been meeting as regularly as they normally would. Most of our clubs only meet once a week, or even some are every other week. So some of them have been doing virtual meetings, depending on the nature of the club and if that's possible. Others of our clubs, especially our drama club, meet much more frequently. There's a lot more involved. So I'm working with the business office to basically look at each club, see if they're still meeting. If they are still meeting, is it living up to the normal expectations that the club would normally have for their sessions? And if not, then we would do a partial refund. For the clubs not meeting at all, same thing, partial refund, just based on how many sessions were missed. Typically, our clubs wrap up anywhere from end of April to even beginning of June, kind of depending which club. So some of the clubs might not have even missed that many sessions. So again, it's going to be a bit of an undertaking for the business office and myself to kind of figure out which one or which clubs require which refunds. But we're in the process of that right now and surveying the advisors and getting more details so we can make the best decisions about that. Let's see, there's another question here about vaccines for next year. Any changes to that will be given by the health office. That's, we obviously need to keep up to date with any kind of state requirements that are issued. And I think that might be it, Mike. I'm just reviewing one more time.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot the AP exam thing. So those of you who have students in AP classes, you're probably aware that the exams are still ongoing through this week. This Friday is our final one. The reviews that I'm hearing from not just our school, but nationwide, worldwide even, is that there have been quite a few challenges. I haven't heard any horror stories from our students, but I've heard some from other schools. And it's, I think College Board went through a major learning process through all of that. The College Board has no plans to offer, retakes. There is a date for students who had access issues. So if there's an issue with submitting it, or, a disruption or something like that, but if students successfully took the exam and submitted it, then they're not offered a retake. But again, if there's some disruption to that, the best process to use for more subject-specific questions is to consult the College Board website as well as their Twitter account. Even if you're not on Twitter, you can still see it. Their updates are very regular through that. The students' AP teacher is another good resource, as well as our counseling department has up-to-date information as well. But overall, we have to do what College Board says, so that, if you go to that website, that's the rule, basically. So I would definitely start there. And then if there are, some more smaller concerns, subject specific, then you can reach out to other resources. And then I think that's it now.
Yeah, I think that's about it from the questions we received prior to the meeting. Going back to Mr. Permetla, who is a Family Forum veteran. I appreciate seeing you on here, sir. I'm just trying to find your question because I'm trying to scroll back up here. Senior final grade. So those will be sent. I think the counselors usually take care of that in early July. They'll be sent out to the in the July timeframe. Miss Marmer, so Miss Marmer, you brought up summer work. We are looking into summer. Actually, the commissioner actually mentioned something to the schools yesterday on the massive call that he had with all charter schools, and recommended that it may be a good idea to trial some sort of online summer programming mixed in, if possible, with some in-person, paying close attention to the social distancing guidelines and things of that nature. If we get into the respective phases there. So we will have more information on summer opportunities for sure. So again, I apologize for the many stay tuned comments, but that is something we have been discussing over the last 24, 48 hours, and we'll continue to. The Youssef family asked about the adding dropping classes, scheduling issues. So that will really depend on what our schedule looks like next year. Add drops. If we can find ourselves in a situation where we are running through our usual schedule, and the students are here and they're going through their 8-period days as they normally would, and we don't make any major adjustments there, then we would have an add drop period as we normally do for the first 2 weeks of the school year. That involves the student going down to the counseling office and sorting that sort of stuff out with their counselors. If we find ourselves in a situation where we have to really rethink our schedule and play around with the credits or reduce credits and things like that, I hope we don't get there. I don't think we're going to get there, but if we do, we'll have to discuss that at the board level as well, because that's in our handbook. So that'd be an adjustment to our overall policy, given the crisis, if we find ourselves in that situation still. So stay tuned on that one as well. But add drops would run as normal if we can get back to some sort of normal schedule next year. Person asked about information for the incoming sixth graders. So Linda Edwards, again, I mentioned her earlier. She's our registrar, admissions person at the school, and she is great. She is working like no other right now. I know she's super busy. The incoming students have had the opportunity to take their placement tests remote this year. We sorted that all out, and thank you to the entire team who worked on that. But Linda Edwards is sort of your go-to person still if you have any questions, about the entry process into AMSA. We do have a tour video, a lower school tour video that Mr. Finkel, who's on here right now, I know he's worked on it with a couple other staff members, where it's going to be a virtual tour for the students. Of course, that's the best we can do right now. And we'll have some more messages for them throughout the summer. If we find ourselves in a situation where we're not going to see each other face to face in the early fall, late summer, we will be in touch with the incoming sixth graders and all other incoming students. So expect a tour video soon. And little by little, you'll get more and more information. My advice is to stay in touch with Miss Edwards with any questions, institutional questions regarding the school, any of our processes. She'll help you out for sure. We'll have more information then.
Linda actually commented in here that the incoming sixth graders will receive their summer reading assignments in the middle of June. Those will be emailed as they usually are, and also posted on the website. So if you lose that email, you can always consult the website. Perfect. I can grab the next few questions if you want, Mike. I can give you a break.
Yes, you can go to Miss Burkhart's question.
Yeah. So graduation and prom are probably two of our most front of mind events that we have, because we know how important they are to our seniors, and I know prom's important to our juniors as well. So we are exploring lots of alternative options. Naturally, a lot of our decisions will be based on what phase we're in at that point in time. we also have to consider deadlines with our venues in terms of deposits and refunds and that kind of thing, because naturally they have some cutoffs regarding those. So we hope to have a clearer picture within the next few weeks. Again, I feel like we have conversations about graduation and or prom pretty much every day as new information comes out. Yep. So yeah, please trust that we're very concerned and really want to make sure we can give some kind of experience to our students. As much as the virtual graduations are a nice option, I think if we can do something socially distant in person, we will do that. We're again constantly thinking of creative ways that we can do that so we can at least get something in person. Prom's a little trickier naturally because of the nature of that event. So we'll see if we can find alternatives for that. I saw the idea in here from Ms. Canistaro about our book return. I think that's a great idea, putting them in the back of the trunk, dropping off anything else that we might need to give students, in exchange for those, like yearbooks or caps and gowns and that kind of thing. So that is a great suggestion. Thank you. And I agree, it would definitely help with social distancing.
Yes, Ms. Canistaro, that's a great suggestion right there.
Yeah, it's very helpful. And if classes don't resume in the fall, basically, is the schedule going to be different? Absolutely. We are in the process of putting together a committee that will work on creating a more robust academic plan than what we currently have. A lot of what we did right now, as you all know, the first closure that we had is only a few weeks long, and we were all hoping we'd be back in April or May, and obviously that hasn't happened. So a lot of our plan was a little bit more short term, and then it turned into a more longer term thing. We also kind of thought the cases of COVID would be a lot higher within our community just because of the projections that were coming out. So we wanted to give a really flexible plan in case we did have students and teachers who were ill and not able to go to class or to teach. So I think we've definitely learned a lot through the plan that we've had in place since April 6th when that went into effect, and we've made some updates as we've gone on, but our priority is definitely to create something as normal as possible for what an AMSA education really is, whether that's remote or in person with a lot of social distancing restrictions, remains to be seen, but we're committed to getting back to normal as much as we can from an education standpoint. And social distancing responsibilities for students, that's all part of what we'll be developing in the next several weeks as, again, more information comes out from the state. I believe Mike mentioned this earlier tonight, but the Department of Education is due to give all schools a whole list of guidelines and requirements and suggestions and just basically more information within the next few weeks. I think right now they're projecting mid-June. So a lot of our conversations are, kind of around what we think will suit us as a school, but we also are aware that we'll need to meet any requirements that the state puts out. And I'm hopeful that they'll be kind of clear about that, about, whether or not masks are required or, 6 feet apart in classrooms and that kind of thing, just so it's clear what we can do. Student medications, those will be returned. That's on our list of kind of end of year things to figure out along with textbooks. If we're having people come back to school for dropping off or picking up different items, we definitely want to combine as much as we can just to limit, the amount of times that everyone has to be, interacting and all that. So we'd likely have some kind of station thing. So textbook drop off, yearbook pickup, medication pickup, again, all depending on our staffing and different restrictions and guidelines and that kind of thing at that point in time. Let's see, catching up. A tour video for the white building in the upper school for the rising 8th graders. That's a great idea. I think we can talk about that and see if that's something we can make easily and distribute. And thank you for the shout out as well about communication and whatnot. We definitely appreciate hearing that. It's as you can imagine, it's been quite the challenge to adapt to this as it has for everyone. So thank you for that.
Thank you to all the parents for being so supportive, and the students as well. I mean, this isn't easy for anybody. I think we all understand that, but it's just been very positive. I think people understanding that this particular quarter number 4, and that half of quarter 3, we wanted to be very proactive and get something together so we could finish out this year and then really plan and dig our heels in for next year and get ready to go. So we appreciate everybody's patience and whatnot during this time, and thank you for these words. But the thank you goes right back to all of you. We appreciate all of you for your help. Any other questions? You see anything else here, Miss Murphy?
I think we got all the questions.
Okay. I just want to add one thing about just before it sounds like we're probably going to be ending soon. The person who asked about social responsibilities and expectations of students. So if we receive clear-cut guidelines from the state that say that students must wear a mask, for example, and they must be 6 feet apart, of course we're going to make that very clear to the students. And when they come on campus, we meet with each individual grade level of students every year during the first week of the school year, and we're going to lay out these expectations from day one. And we'll have to come up with policies on our end around student conduct, because we don't want, I wouldn't expect this to happen, but we'll have to be very, very firm on that and pay very close attention to it and handle it in an appropriate manner too. So just so everyone knows, if those guidelines come out, we are going to take them very seriously, and we're going to expect our students to abide by them, and our staff and everybody on campus to the fullest extent. So just if that eases folks' minds, I just wanted to point that out, that we will be very mindful of that and deal with those situations appropriately if anybody breaks any policies. I'm not really seeing anything else. And we made good time. So, if we're all set, we're all good to go. I hope that everybody has a great night. And if it's dinner time, have a great meal with the family and enjoy your night.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.